She sat before me with soft confidence. Not pride, not arrogance, but the quiet strength of a woman who had crawled through life's fire and emerged with grace still intact. Her wedding ring glimmered gently. Her eyes held both light and memory. She took a deep breath and whispered, "Amara, before I became a wife, I was someone the world threw away." I leaned closer. "Your story is safe here. Speak." She nodded, steady but trembling from places she had buried long ago. "Hello, beloved. Welcome again to Unbroken Courage. I'm Amara. Tonight, I share a story of a woman who walked from shame into honor, from brokenness into dignity, from selling her body to being loved for her soul. Stay with me to the end, because grace doesn't just rebuild lives, it crowns them. My name is Lydia," she began quietly, "and once I believed love was something meant for other people, not me." Lydia didn't grow up lost. She wasn't born into the streets. She was raised in a humble Christian home. Quiet evenings, church on Sundays, her mother humming worship songs while cooking beans and rice. But life can turn suddenly. "My father died when I was 16, she said, voice tightening. "And poverty isn't gentle, Amara. It doesn't knock, it breaks the door." Her mother fell sick from grief and exhaustion. Bills piled, rent threatened. She was too young to work a real job, too desperate to accept hunger. "I thought I would save my family," she whispered. "Instead, I lost myself." A girl from the neighborhood told her about a club. "Just dancing," she had said. "Dancing became drinks, drinks became touch, touch became selling my body." Lydia lowered her head. "I hated every minute. Every night I would cry in the shower and pray, 'God, don't let this be my story forever.'" But shame has a voice, and hers whispered, "This is all you'll ever be." She worked for months, secretly. Her mother never knew how the bills were magically paid, but guilt crushed her like stones on her back. "I would watch other girls walk freely in sunlight," she said, "and I felt like a shadow pretending to be human." But God sees shadows too. One night, a fight broke out in the club. Men shouting, glass breaking. She hid behind a counter, shaking. A man working security pulled me away and whispered, "This place will kill you. Leave." She ran, not just from danger, but from who she had become. She found a job cleaning tables at a small cafe. Washing plates felt holy compared to her past. Every plate I washed, I prayed. Every cup I filled, I whispered, "God, give me another life." And one morning it happened, gently. A man walked in, calm, soft-spoken, with eyes that didn't look through her or at her body, but into her soul. His name was Daniel. He ordered tea every morning, same table, same chair, and one day he asked, "Why do you always smile, but your eyes look like they're healing from something?" Lydia smiled softly at the memory. "No one had ever seen my soul before," she said, "so I learned to breathe again." They became friends, then more, then love. Pure, gentle, new. "He never asked about my past," she said. "He only asked about my dreams." He proposed, not on bended knee, not in grand spectacle, but with trembling sincerity. "I don't know your past, Lydia," he told her, "but I love the woman you are, and I want to build your future with you." For the first time, she felt chosen, not used. She paused, tears touching her lashes. "Amara, I should have been happy, but shame doesn't die easily." Wedding day came, vows, prayers, laughter, and Lydia stepped into a life she never believed she deserved. But secrets are seeds, and secrets eventually grow roots. One afternoon, his mother came unannounced, she said. She looked familiar, too familiar. The mother-in-law stared at her long, sharp eyes narrowing. "I know you," she whispered. "You used to work in that club. I saw you there." Lydia froze, heart stopped, her past knocking on the door of her new life. "I tried to speak," she said softly, but she walked out without a word. For 3 days, silence filled the house like a storm waiting to break. Then the mother returned, with rage, with judgment, with condemnation. "My son cannot be married to filth," she spat. "End this marriage or I will." Lydia cried that night like she hadn't since the streets owned her. "I thought it was over," she whispered to me. "But I didn't know Daniel wasn't just a husband. He was my defender." She lifted her head. "Amara, what he did next shook heaven and hell." We will continue next. Beloved, that was installment 1 of From Prostitution to the Beautiful Bride. A reminder that God does not consult your past to write your future. If this touched you, comment. Grace can rebuild any story. I'm Amara, and this is Unbroken Courage, where even the most broken wings learn to fly. Lydia looked at me, hands folded in her lap, voice soft but steady. Amara. That night I felt like my past wrapped its hands around my throat. I couldn't sleep. I lay beside my husband with tears soaking my pillow, praying he wouldn't wake up and see regret in my eyes. She paused, breathing deeply. In my heart, I was already packing my bags. I thought leaving would save him from shame. But destiny does not surrender to fear, not when God rewrites a story. The next morning, Daniel walked into the kitchen where Lydia sat trembling, holding a mug she hadn't touched. He looked at her long, tenderly, not suspicious, not angry, not confused, just present. Then he spoke in a voice calm as still water. My mother said she came to see you. Lydia's breath trapped in her chest. Yes, she whispered, and she knows. Daniel didn't flinch. He sat beside her, lifted her chin gently, and wiped her tears with his thumb. I know too. Lydia froze. Her heart felt like glass cracking. You knew? He nodded. Not everything, but enough to know you escaping that life took more courage than most people ever show. He took her hands firmly, not in pity, but in honor. Lydia, your past is a place you survived. It is not a cage you still live in. She broke. Tears poured freely. I didn't want you to feel shame because of me, she whispered. Daniel shook his head slowly. I don't feel shame. I feel pride. You fought through darkness I never had to face, and you came out whole. He kissed her forehead. I married your soul, not your history. Sometimes healing doesn't arrive in churches or altars. Sometimes it arrives in a kitchen, in morning light, through the voice of love. Later that day, the storm walked through the door. His mother entered, stern, stiff, armed with judgment like a shield. She looked at Lydia as if her presence contaminated the air. I gave you a chance to do the right thing, she snapped. Leave my son now. Lydia opened her mouth to speak, but Daniel rose slowly, taller in spirit than in height. Mother, he said quietly but with steel beneath. Sit. She did, surprised, unsettled. Her son had never used that tone. You raised me to value truth, Daniel said. So here is the truth. Lydia is my wife. She is good. She is kind. She is redeemed. His mother scoffed. She sold herself. And God bought her back, Daniel replied, with mercy none of us deserve. Silence crackled like a live wire.
Prosody.
Mother, if you cannot honor my wife, you will not dishonor her in my home. His mother's face flushed. You choose her over me? Daniel inhaled deeply. I choose righteousness over cruelty. I choose love over shame. I choose the woman God helped rise over the past you refused to let die. The room held its breath. His mother stood trembling, not from anger alone, but shock. You are blinded by love, she hissed. No, Daniel answered. I am guided by grace. She stormed out, and Lydia collapsed into his arms, not because she was weak, but because she had finally been defended. That night, Lydia prayed. She did not pray for her mother-in-law to suffer. She prayed for her heart to soften. God, she sees the girl I used to be. Help her see the woman you shaped from ashes. Because redemption is not complete when we are loved. It is complete when we learn to love even those who cannot yet see us rightly. Days passed, the house quiet. No calls, no visits, a mother offended, a son firm, a wife learning she was worth protecting. Then one afternoon, Lydia found her mother-in-law sitting quietly outside the gate. Weathered, small, not angry, tired. Lydia approached gently. Meh. The woman looked up, eyes red, pride wounded, heart wrestling. I came to see if you are still here, she whispered. Lydia knelt beside her. I am not running anymore, she said softly. But not because I'm stubborn, because I finally believe I deserve love too. The older woman stared, shaking. I thought I was protecting my son, she murmured. I didn't realize I was attacking a daughter God had already forgiven. Tears gathered, reluctant but real. Is there a world where I can learn to accept you? She asked, voice breaking. Lydia held her hands. There is a world where we can heal together. And for the first time, the woman wept. Not in anger, but surrender. Mama looked at me as Lydia finished speaking, her own eyes shining. Amara, grace changes people. Sometimes slowly, sometimes painfully, but surely. I smiled at Lydia. Beloved, when God rewrites a life, even shame kneels down. She exhaled, freed again, even in the retelling. And this, beloved, was installment 2, the confrontation, the stand, the breaking of pride and the rising of grace. We are not finished. Next we show the slow acceptance, the rebuilding of a family, the mother-in-law becoming her defender, Lydia helping other girls rise from the streets, and the beautiful truth, Restoration is louder than shame. If your heart is ready for installment 3, type "Continue, Amara." I'm here, beloved. And this is Unbroken Courage, where grace does not just forgive, it crowns. Lydia sat with a peace soft as morning light. She placed her hand over her heart before speaking again. Amara. Healing didn't come in one moment. It came like dawn, gentle, quiet, conquering darkness without noise. After that day outside the gate, her mother-in-law didn't transform instantly. Hearts don't warm in a rush. They thaw, inch by inch. Some mornings she came by with forced politeness. Other days she avoided eye contact, as if embarrassed by her own hostility finally losing strength. But she returned, Lydia whispered. And sometimes faith is simply waiting while someone else learns what love looks like. One afternoon, the older woman knocked again. No pride left, only humility. She carried a small bag of vegetables. "It's not much," she said quietly, "but I wanted to bring something for my daughter." That single word, daughter, felt like resurrection in Lydia's chest. She took the vegetables, tears gathering, and said softly, "Thank you, Mama." For the first time, the woman smiled, thin, fragile, but real. Grace was winning. I call this a table of second chances. Weeks passed, meals shared, stories exchanged. The mother-in-law began to ask questions about Lydia's past, not to judge, but to understand. One evening she confessed, "When I heard where you came from, I didn't see you. I only saw my own fear. Fear that my son would suffer. Fear of shame. But I never asked how you survived. I never asked how you changed. Forgive me." Lydia held her hand. "I forgive you. Because once I needed someone to believe I could become more than my mistakes too." The older woman's eyes filled. "I wasted so much time fighting the blessing God gave us." Sometimes repentance doesn't sound like confession, it sounds like humility returning home. And that day, the mother-in-law hugged Lydia, not stiff or hesitant, but like a woman embracing a miracle she almost missed. I call this the bride who blossomed. One Sunday, Lydia stood beside her husband and his mother in church. Her mother-in-law introduced her to a group of women and said proudly, "This is my daughter. She is proof that grace rewrites stories better than society ever could." Lydia didn't cry. She glowed. Not because she needed validation, but because acceptance blooms beautifully when watered by patience and truth. I call this planting seeds for others. Lydia did not keep her story locked away. She began visiting a safe house for girls escaping the streets, the same kind of life she once drowned in. She didn't preach. She didn't condemn. She sat with them, held their hands, and whispered, "I know where you are. I sat in that darkness too. I thought my value was gone. But God doesn't forget his daughters. You are not trash. You are seeds waiting for light." Broken girls listened, because healed scars speak louder than untouched lecturing. One girl started crying, and Lydia hugged her and said, "You don't need to be perfect to start over. You only need to be willing." She prayed with them, laughed with them, believed with them. Her scars were no longer shame. They became keys, unlocking hope in other caged hearts. I call this a crown placed by grace. One evening, Lydia's mother-in-law visited unexpectedly. In her hand was a small wrapped box. "For you," she murmured. Lydia opened it. Inside was a delicate gold bracelet engraved "Redeemed." The older woman's voice broke. "I once thought you weren't worthy of this family. Now, I thank God he chose you for my son. You didn't just change, you changed us." Lydia hugged her, tears soft and sacred, and in that moment she realized God hadn't just given her love, he had restored her honor. From the floor of a club to the table of dignity. From being touched for survival to being held with reverence. From discarded to chosen. When she finished speaking, Lydia looked at me with quiet fire. "I am not who I was," she whispered. "I am not who people expected me to be. I am who grace made me." I reached for her hand. "And you are proof," I said softly, "that shame breaks under love and the past bows to redemption." She smiled, not as a woman hiding her history, but as a queen who survived it. Beloved, that concludes From Prostitution to the Beautiful Bride. A true, unbroken courage testimony. No story is too dirty for God to cleanse. No past is too heavy for grace to lift. And no heart is too shattered to love again. If this story touched you, comment below. Grace restored me too. I am Amara, and this is Unbroken Courage, where broken stories don't end, they rise.